For miles around Lützerath, the roads closed by and commandeered for the police and only the police. Further on by foot, the first line of defence by protesters. Brushed aside by a digger under heavy police guard, the Lützerath cycle, obstruction, then destruction. And all the while, 300 metres across an abandoned field, the gigantic Garzweiler mine eats its way towards the village.
What do we want? When do we want it? Now! And we gotta fight for it! Yes!
At the edge of Lützerath, the human front line. Today could be the last day before the police begin evicting hundreds of activists. With them today at least one Green MP.
Putin has invaded Ukraine. Germany has an energy crisis like the UK. We need, unfortunately, to burn coal, no?
So we need to change our energy system and move forward with renewable energy, with solar and wind. Coal has to stay in the ground because we have also the climate crisis.
Just take it in. You could easily fit a city like York or Bath into Garzweiler's yawning abyss. But the owners, RWE, say they're spending billions on hydrogen, wind and solar. They're halving the amount of coal mined here, and they're closing the whole thing 8 years early, 7 years from now.
That's a good deal, isn't it? Doesn't that make sense?
It's pure climate injustice, because we know that the people suffering first from the climate crisis are the people not here, are the people most affected, are poor people in the global south, and that's why we know that we need to stop them.
Lützerath, then, the front line in a political battle now being fought out across Europe and beyond. And it boils to this: in the current energy crisis, do you go on mining coal, however reluctantly, for a few years? Or do you leave it in the ground and push all out for renewable energy?
Lützerath's legal residents, long gone, compensated, rehoused, replaced by activists in buildings and strings of tree houses. They know well, tree houses are far harder to evict than buildings. And the face coverings? Well, as of midnight tonight, just being here is a criminal offence. Some of the new protest structures here are extensive. They've solar power, food for months, even makeshift toilet blocks. So, we were invited in, or rather up, to be precise.
They build a fence around you and you become imprisoned by the police here. What happens? Do you have to go? How long can you stay for?
Well, we have food for at least 2 months, I would say, in here.
Well, maybe less, depending how many we are.
Yeah, I'm really optimistic for the next coming weeks, because there's like a big demonstration, there are some actions going on, and just when you see yesterday, there's so many people and they're all really like, okay, we need to do that, we need to stop the troll now, and we need to do something for Lützerath.
It is one giant colourful symbol of a country uniquely over-reliant on Russian gas, underinvested in wind and solar, now desperately playing catch-up and having to go on burning lignite, brown coal, the dirtiest of dirty fuels, at Lützerath.
The important thing to point out, though, is that to deliver that amount of power from these lignite plants, the coal under Lützerath is not actually necessary. So it is possible for Germany to deliver that emergency power from coal plants without digging up Lützerath.
Yesterday's family saloon, today's anti-police barricade. They rip up the paving slabs for makeshift defences. Meanwhile, the police lines are putting up barriers too, hemming in the entire village. The lines of confrontation are drawn.
Alex Thompson reporting. Well, the climate activist Luisa Neubauer has been instrumental in pushing climate up the political agenda in Germany and has also been campaigning in the village of Lützerath. And she joins me now from Berlin. Thanks very much for joining us. As we heard in the piece there, you're fighting a deal brokered by Green Party ministers, which has seen the company agree to phase out coal 8 years earlier than it planned, to take much less coal than they had intended. Surely in an imperfect world, with your country facing a really crippling energy crisis, this isn't a bad compromise?
Well, yes, and I think this comes down to understanding what a greenwashing policy is. So most people would associate greenwashing with corporations, yet what we have with this new coal exit deal in Germany is a greenwashing policy where a climate progress is being promised, well, as the science tells us that actually far too little is done for the climate. Almost no CO2 is being spared out here, and RWE, the powerhouse, this coal company that is the largest and dirtiest coal company of the whole of Europe, wins big time. And that is where we say enough is enough. Climate justice means drawing lines, saying we need to stop the destruction, we need to stop it now.
Yes, but as we've said, you know, this is a deal brokered by Green Party ministers. You met today with one of those ministers. What did you tell her?
Yeah. Well, we told her what the science really says, and the science says two really important things. One is we do not need that coal under the village, and it's not even available soon enough for our current energy crisis situation. We can provide safe energy for everyone in Germany without distracting that coal. And more than that, and I think that is really important here, we need to understand that this coal underneath that very village threatens the CO2 targets, the climate targets of Germany, the largest country of Europe. So this matters not really just for us, but this matters for people around the world, for people in livelihoods around the world, because our CO2 emissions here from Germany affect people worldwide. So this is really a global justice situation, and people need to stand sides. One deal was being made, and we demand a new deal to be made in line with our promises made in the Paris Agreement and with our global responsibility that we have as such a large and rich industrialized country.
I mean, obviously, the companies say they're making huge strides to try and create more clean energy. And we know that Germany was uniquely dependent on gas from Russia. This is perhaps symbolic of what's happening in Germany. It is that difficult balance between a climate crisis and an energy crisis, isn't it?
Not. Actually, no, it isn't, because we are in an energy crisis because governments like the German ones relied on fossil fuels from autocrats way too long, even though they knew that these aren't reliable partners and fossil fuel energies aren't the energies that we need. So this is a fossil fuel energy crisis, which we cannot solve by investing more in fossil fuels, but what we can only solve by getting out of fossil fuels and into clean, sustainable energies. So the two things really come together here.
Yeah, just briefly, if you would. I mean, since Glasgow, COP26 agreed to phase down global coal has expanded 300%. I mean, how do we counter that? How do you counter that?
Well, what we're seeing is that the promises made by governments aren't worth anything if, you know, they're not being turned into reality. And if governments don't do that, it's up to the people to fight for that. And that's exactly what is happening in Lützerath right now. That is why thousands of people are planning to go there or are there already, because they know, after all, it's up to us, the people. The German government fell short to stand up to RWE. They protected the profits of that coal company rather than the livelihoods of peoples in Lützerath, but also around the world, considering the climate impact. So yeah, it's a very straightforward thing, and my heart is warm seeing that people are willing to fight, that they're standing up, and that they say, you know, climate justice is something we can actually achieve.
Got to end it there, but thank you very much for talking to us this evening. Thanks so much. And if you want more on the problems with coal, then head over to our website, where our climate reporter, Simon Roach, looks at the questions some politicians around the world are having to grapple with. Is it OK to use more of the dirtiest fossil fuel now if it means a faster decarbonisation later?